Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. This is our course on SEO. This is a free course that I'll be doing on this channel, and if you're not subscribed, you might want to go ahead and do that. Just push the little subscribe button and you'll be notified anytime I do a new video on this. So why am I doing a free course on SEO? Well, the reason is to help make things more fair, to help the little and small business compete in this crazy world. There's a lot of misconceptions about the internet. A lot of people believe a lot of things that really aren't true, and believing those things do not serve you and will continue you down the wrong path. Most of what you see online, people like this is a famous meme. I saw it on the internet, so it must be true. So people joke about the weird things that you see on the internet. They're like, don't believe everything that you see on the internet, but they're really just looking at stuff like this. They don't realize that the majority of what you see on the internet, the vast majority, I'm talking about on news sites, I'm talking about on Facebook, I'm talking about Twitter, anything that you see online, the majority of it is even on television and radio, is a bunch of BS put out by people who have an agenda to make you believe things that serve their purpose, okay? And so this disinformation, this bad information, keeps people from doing things that they could otherwise do. So what we're going to talk about is a true education. You're not going to hear this anywhere else, and I'm going to show you the proof and all of this stuff that's really going to blow most of your minds. It's really going to blow most of your minds. So the first thing I want to talk about is the .com bubble. If you've been around for very long, it started like 1995, busted in 2001. The .com bubble, you go and do a search on it. What was the .com bubble and what did it do and why did it burst? You'll hear all kinds of, BS stories and opinions and all this other stuff. But the true reason, what was the .com bubble and why did it burst? That's that's the first lesson that we're going to hear today, because knowing these facts are going to save you a lot of time and a lot of money. There's a huge amount of money to be made online, but not if you're misinformed. Not if you're misinformed. So the more education that you have, the less time you'll waste doing silly things, listening to the wrong people. So the .com bubble. What was the .com bubble all about? Well, if you've been alive and conscious for the last 20 years, you know that we all, as human beings, saw and felt before the internet really wasn't even a thing. When we first started hearing about it, we all, for some reason, knew that it was going to be big. We knew that it was going to be big. Where it's at today, nobody's surprised by this. Nobody's like, oh my God, I had no idea it was going to be this way. We all knew. We didn't know what it would be, but we knew it would be big. And I'm here to tell you right now that everything that you see right now is just a small fraction of the true potential of what the internet has to offer. It's in its infancy, if that's believable to you. It's really in its infancy. Less than 1% of the true potential of the internet has been tapped. So much more can be done. But so much isn't being done. Really all we're seeing over these years, over the past 10 years, is nothing but copy. The big companies that you see right now, they're all copies of something else. No one's doing anything original. Nobody's doing anything new. They're just copying what other people are doing, because they have no idea. Why don't they have any idea? Because they're listening to all the BS online and they're going, this is the big thing, this is the thing. And so they're going, oh, I better rush over there and do that. When it's all just a bunch of BS. So what we're going to talk about is the real reason for the .com bubble. So we all knew that it was the future of the internet, and it was so easy to get investors to give you money if you just put an E on the front of your name, or you put a .com. It was so easy. Oh my God, they were throwing millions and millions of dollars at teenagers because they were so desperate to be a part of this thing called the internet that was going to come out and change the world and revolutionize things and make it, so wonderful. And so they also were able to convince the masses that they needed to have their own website. And again, false information, right? So what was the story? You need to have your own domain name. You need to have your own domain. You need to have a website, because there's this virtual world and you can get one really cheap compared to, like space in an office building or a store in a mall. A website is so much cheaper, and you have to have a website. Now back then websites were expensive, domain names were expensive, hosting was expensive, having a website made was expensive, and it caused this bubble. Everybody was going to school to learn how to use to work on the internet. They were taking programming and networking, everything that had anything, and they were making a fortune. Young kids making an absolute fortune, huge salaries, more than doctors, and everybody was going to school for it. All these schools were opening up, which, by the way, many of the schools that opened up during that time are completely going out of business, or have gone out of business. Why? Because they were supported by this bubble, this All these people who had this feeling that the internet was the future, but no one having a clue as to how it was actually going to happen. So everybody started buying these websites and paying all this money, and then they were like, oh, well, we need more companies that sell domain names, and we need more companies that make websites, and we need more hosting companies, and all of these people started investing and getting involved in all this other stuff. And the interesting thing about the internet is it's this anomaly that doesn't exist anywhere else, because you have the whole world as your marketplace, which is a really interesting thing. It doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. If you're in a small town and you're ripping people off, pretty soon you're going to go out of business. If you're in a bigger town, you'll be able to do it longer. When you've got the whole world as your marketplace, you can do it for decades, because there's always new people to scam. There's an endless source of people to scam, okay? So this is the truth of the dot-com bubble. They convinced all these people, and then they would spend this money. It was a lot of money. They spent this money, and they got this website, and nothing happened. What happened to the promise of, I'm going to get all this business, and there's all this stuff? What happened to this promise of, oh, well, now you need to do, you need to do this, and then you need to do this, and and they just kept spending and giving money until people started giving up. They're like, it's a waste of money. It's a complete waste of money. So they stopped. Normal businesses who don't do business online, which, again, tons of businesses had websites when they don't do online business. And so they all stopped. And when they all stopped, it affected all of these companies. And that's what caused the bubble to burst. That's what caused the bubble to burst. Because people had these websites. And then, of course, we have nobody going to the websites. Because unlike a mall, unlike prime real estate somewhere, if you've got a website and you don't advertise it, it doesn't exist. I know you're like, wait a minute, I know, I can look at it. Yeah, you can look at it. And somebody who pulls your address up, but until someone pulls your address up, it's nothing but ones and zeros. It doesn't become a website, it doesn't become those pretty pictures and all that other stuff until somebody calls it up. Having a website without advertising is like putting a billboard on a star. There are so many of them. The chances of anyone seeing yours are slim to none. You got to advertise. You got to tell people it's that star at this degrees north and this degrees west, or whatever it is. You got to tell people. And see, at the time that the dot-com bubble burst, there wasn't any real form of advertising. I mean, there was advertising. There was no paid advertising. There were things like traffic exchanges, exchanging links with other people on other people's websites, but it was very, very, very different. Even just like in 2003, I did a co-op in 2003 where I was spending $50,000 a month in advertising, and it was it was beyond a full-time job. That's how hard it was to spend just $50,000 back then on advertising. I had to contact all these little bitty sites, and $500 here and $200 here, and because there was no paid advertising. So because of that, people had these websites that it was just money going out of their hands. It was not and could not return anything for them. Then you come out with these companies like Facebook and Google and people seeing and Zynga and King and these companies making billions of dollars. Then you got people going, there's money to be made, there's money to be made, there's money to be made. So then again, it stirs up this whole thing. There's all this money to be made. I got to get in there. I got to start making money. So the advertising comes out after the bubble bursts, and now we're getting people, well, back then, start getting people, oh, you can get a website. Now, of course, we're not getting those people. It'll be probably another 10 years before we can sucker those people that don't have an online presence into creating another website, because they say that those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Well, that's all fine and dandy as long as people quit changing history and quit covering up what really happened in history. Because you can't blame people for falling for something they never knew existed to begin with. And that's really the reality of things. You go and look at history from times that you were alive back then, and they're saying this happened. You're like, wait, no, I was there. Remember, that's not what happened. But the people coming later can't do that. The people coming later can't do that. They don't know, because they weren't there. So the new thing that we have now, so really this whole, convincing everybody that they needed a website was really just a big misinformation, scamming because these people are convincing these people that the site will do far more than it actually ever could do. So again, lying to people, telling them that things are going to be better than they are. But now we have a new bubble. We have a new bubble. And I'm predicting this bubble is going to be bursting relatively soon. Probably, say, in the next 3 years. And that is this big pay-per-click bubble. I'm going to show you the pay-per-click bubble. And the reason that this bubble has gone on so long, again, we've got the whole world as our marketplace. So when this fool stops paying, I'll get this one. And when that fool stops paying, I'll get the next one. And we've got billions of people out there. Billions of people out there who want to make money from the internet. So we can convince them that they can do it, and then to spend money, and then they say, oh, well, you know, I spent all this money and it's not working. And they say, oh, no, because you have to do this. And they're like, okay, so they do that because they don't want to walk away from the money they already spent. They already spent a lot of money. So once you can get people to spend a lot of money, now you got them hooked. Now you got them really hooked, because if they just quit at that point, then they just threw that money away in their mind. So it's again throwing good money after bad. So this pay-per-click lunacy that's going on, this chasing a dream. If you're a marketer, you've probably seen 1,000 different internet scams, get-rich-quick programs out there. And you're like, well, that's obviously a scam. The internet is just nothing but scams. It is nothing but people scamming people. That's what it is. There is money to be made. There is real money to be made. But a lot of money is being made scamming people. So we're going to show you, I'm going to expose a really, really big scam. I actually started exposing the scam about 6 years ago. And when I first exposed it, I exposed it to, not to the whole world, to internet experts, you know, SEO type people. And since that time, a lot of things have changed, if you know what to look for. And we'll go more into that in another video. But in this one, we want to expose this big, massive scam that's going on right now, that's scamming people who want to make money online. And when you see the truth of this, you're going to be like, oh my God, how is this even happening? This is insane. I guarantee you it's going to shock you. So, if you go online and you look for pay-per-click advertising, if you go look, what is pay-per-click advertising? You'll find it'll say, oh, the average cost per click, you read most articles, the average cost per click is about $2.50. Now, first off, let me tell you, that price right there is absolutely freaking insane. The fact that people are paying that much just shows you how good the scammers are that are selling them that crap. Because that is absolutely ridiculous. Think about that for a minute. You have a tiny little ad that doesn't even cover 5% of the screen. Someone what? It can hardly say anything. Someone clicks on it, $2.50. That's what you pay. Now, less than 1% of the people who click on your ad are going to buy anything. And that's, in fact, across the board, across the world, in any form of advertising, whether they saw it on TV, whether they saw a billboard, whether they heard a commercial, less than 1% will buy the product on the first contact. 85% buy it on the 5th to 12th contact. That means if they're one of the people that are going to buy your product, because obviously everybody's not going to buy your product, but if they're, of all the people who will buy your product, 85% are going to do it the 5th to 12th time they see it. Think about that for a second. If they're not going to buy it when they click on it, if that is a fact, it's a human condition, it's the way human beings are, how many things have you bought in your life? Sure, there are things you saw and you just bought it. But how many of everything that you ever bought, what percentage of those did you buy the very first time you see it? The majority of things that you bought, you didn't. You thought about it. You waited. So this whole idea that there's any value at all to buying a click on a banner is complete lunacy. So why do people do it? Why do people pay these prices? And I'm going to show you that that's actually far, far less than what they're actually paying. Not only that, but the industry is rife with click fraud, which means a lot of the clicks that you're paying for, they're not real. It's not real people clicking on it. All the major advertising companies that sell pay-per-click advertising have settled multi-million-dollar lawsuits for click fraud. Why? Because they get paid every time someone clicks. The publisher gets paid every time someone clicks. They say, we don't incentivize people to click on the ads. That's like trusting a complete stranger on the street. Why on earth would you think that somebody who's going to get paid every time you click is not going to do whatever they can to get those to cheat you. That doesn't even make any sense. The whole industry doesn't make any sense. The fact that people trust people, and again, the bigger it gets, the more people that trust, because that's the way people behave. People are like sheeple. Everyone else is doing it, so it must be good. It must be good. And see, that's that anomaly of the internet. The whole world is your marketplace. You got these news outlets, you got all these people talking about, oh yeah, that's what you have to do. That's what you have to do. And it's so easy to convince the herd that this is what you have to do. So, we go to, we convince these people that they need, so what's the first step? We convince them that they need to buy pay-per-click advertising and they need to spend a certain amount of money a month. Then that doesn't work. So what do we say now? Well, that doesn't work. So, replicating the .com era. Okay, so I bought my website and that didn't work. So what do? Now? I bought my pay-per-click advertising and that didn't work. Oh, you need an expert. You need an expert to run your pay-per-click campaign for you. That's not why it's not working, because you need an expert to run it for you. Okay, so first I'll get to that. I'm going to show you some experts and that sort of thing, so you can see really how insane all of this is. So, with the pay-per-click advertising, why are people paying this insane amount of money? Because they don't know the truth. They don't know the truth about search engines. They don't know the truth about how these things are all sort of linked together and that sort of thing. So what don't they know about search engines? Well, Google, the largest search engine, is also the largest pay-per-click advertising company in the world. Now, we already know that less than 1% of the people who click on the ad are going to buy anything. Could you imagine what the cost is going to be over time? But people continue to do it. In fact, they pay much more than you would even believe that they're actually paying. I'm going to show that to you. They will pay this amount of advertising. They will pay this amount for advertising because of something that's in the search engine, in the algorithm, called a bounce rate. Bounce rates eliminate all other forms of advertising, like traffic exchanges and stuff like that, the type of advertising that existed before pay-per-click. It makes all that bad. And it makes pay-per-click advertising good. What happens, it's not that people click on the ads and they see it and they decide to buy it. It's that they have it programmed into the search engine, this thing called a bounce ratio. And this bounce ratio says, if someone clicks on your site, if somebody visits your site and they click on your site, then that's a non-bounce. If someone visits your site and they do not click on your site, that is a bounce. So if you were to use something like a traffic exchange, for example, that's nearly 100% bounce traffic. Yes, people are seeing on it, but they're there for a different reason, and so some will click, and it's a good way to advertise. It's a bad thing to do if your goal is to get ranked in the search engines. And that should be everybody's goal, because that's where the sales are. That's where the sales happen. People don't see some banner somewhere and click on it and then go buy the product. If somebody wants to buy a product, they go to the search engine and search for it. Very few people remember the names of the websites. Heck, most people still today, if you stand behind somebody and say, hey, can you log into your Facebook? Just stand there and watch them. You will find that 9 out of 10 of them are going to go to Google and type Facebook into Google and do a search for it. Even people who go there every single day. Can't tell you how many times I've watched people do that. Blows my mind. In fact, if you do a search for the top 50 search words, you will find that many of them are .com. Like, one of them is Facebook.com. People are actually searching for Facebook.com. They're searching for an exact address in a search engine. Google.com is also up there. I've actually watched people type Google.com into Google. The sales come from the search engines. When someone's looking to buy something, looking to go somewhere online, they're putting it in the search engines. This is why you need to be ranked in the search engines. And you might think, oh, there's billions and billions of people competing, so I better not even try. And the reality of that is, let me just show you this. So I'm just going to click on all. And I can probably find it with just here. So here we are on the first page of Google. And look at, these two don't have dates, it's Facebook, who knows when it was posted. But the third result was posted in 2012. So was the next result. This one was in 2016. This was 2001. This is what Google says is the most relevant things for what I put in the box. And you can check this out. Do a search for anything and check the dates of what is being posted. Check the dates. You know why these dates are like this? Because most people cannot afford to do what it takes to get up, to get to these pages. Most people cannot afford it. Unless they use our program. But let's look at cost of SEO. SEO, by the way, is search engine optimization. Meaning getting your site to the first 3 pages of the search engines. This is the cost. Most projects cost $1,000 to $30,000. Now see, and again, what's the most recent date? The leading one. These are ads right here. These 2 are ads. The first result, 2013. The second result, 2013. The third, 2013. So you see, there's a whole bunch of room for a whole bunch of people out there to be on the first page, definitely the first few pages of Google. Okay? Look, 2012, 2014. People think that it's so hard that they don't even try. It certainly is expensive. Let me see if I can find an article. I probably can't find it now. You're just going to take my word on this. SEO costs between $15,000 and $75,000 a year. And while this one says per project, let me tell you something about pay-per-click advertising and SEO. It ain't a one-time thing. It's a you pay for the rest. And now these are prices in 2013. They've gone way, way, way up from there. You're spending, and here in 2013, $100 to $300 an hour. SEO is now a $65 billion a year industry, and that only counts the big companies because it's pretty much just in the U.S. because they don't have ways of tracking all the other places. But that's what they say. It's probably more around $250 billion a year. Okay, so how come other sites are not here, right? Why are other sites not here? It didn't used to be like this. Well, because the pay-per-click bubble is heading on its way to popping, to bursting. And the reason is because of the ridiculous cost. Because we said, okay, if we go and we look, it says it costs, you know, average of $2.50. That's the recommended bid. You're not going to win at that price. I had some research pulled on certain keywords, and I'll put that in another video where, like, keyword phrases were coming out at like 23, 26 a click, dollars a click. Okay, things like free online advertising. Can you imagine paying? Now, your product has to be free online advertising, right? So, what? You're going to pay $23 a click knowing that less than 1% of the people are going to buy it. But this is how ridiculous it is. So somebody asked me when I was telling about this the other day in my group, they were like, how do people afford to do this? Well, most of them don't. They used to. I have a friend that owns a salon, a spa actually, and she got hooked up with Google. And they convinced her to spend more, the salesperson or whatever, more per month on AdWords than she actually makes in a month for business. And she did it. I was like, man, you should have talked to me about that. I would have told you not. And guess what happened? Absolutely nothing. She didn't know anything about the internet. She wanted, when people did a search for her in the search engines, for her page to come up. In a town that has a normal population of only 25,000 people. You think, and she's the only spa in town. You'd think that wouldn't be too damn hard, you know what I'm saying? But they did. They got her to spend $10,000 a month. Yeah, which is far more than she makes a month in her salon, because her salon is in Turkey, where the median income is $500 a month. So can you imagine? The average person makes $500 a month. Her reps got her spending $10,000 a month on advertising. Told her she needed to do it for at least 3 months. Then it would get up there. So she spent the money, and guess what happened? Nothing. Now, will she ever do that again? Nope. But there will be somebody else that they can do that with, and someone else that they can do that with. And then, of course, they're still going to want this. They're still going to want to be there, and so they're willing to listen to the next con man who try until they just simply run out of money and go out of business. But like I said, it's hard to do that. It's hard to walk away from that money. So she's really open to be scammed again. She's really open to be scammed again because why? Because she's already spent $30,000, which is a lot of money in Turkey, okay? So if somebody goes and says, oh, no, 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 you didn't have an ad manager, you didn't have somebody managing your pay-per-click advertising for you, that's too much money to be spending without having somebody manage it for you. So here you have somebody who would do what? Get her to spend another $30,000 plus their fees, right? Because we're going to manage it for you. So let's take a look at what the real prices is. So this is an advertising agency. What they do is they manage your advertising for you. And what do they say? And you can find all kinds of these online. This was the 2016. So this is a really interesting, just look at the up in the browser in the video, you'll see the exact address, and if you just type that into Google, you will find this article and you can read it yourself, or you can just pause as I pause the video and read what it says. So here we're looking through, I'm not going to read the whole article, but I will scroll all the way through really slowly so you can pause it. And here it's talking about examples of where it's like $50 or more per click. Again, it might say 50 cents, it might say $2.50, but if you're actually going to win it and get your ad displayed, you're going to pay a lot more than that. So here we go down here. This is what I wanted to show. I'm going to let me first scroll all the way down so that you can pause and read the whole article, because it'll probably be easier to do that. So, and then we'll come back. And if you call one of these advertising agencies, this stuff that this article is saying, actually it's going to be a lot worse. So this is what they're saying out in the open. It's kind of like if you call a car dealer and you say, I want to buy this car, what's the price? They tell you the price, but then when you go in there, it's a heck of a lot more. It's always going to be something like that. So let's scroll down here. I'm going to read this one particular point to you. And I'm going to show you why it's so easy to get to the top of a search engine if you know how. Our program will definitely help you do it, and it can even help you do it for free. But I'm going to show you, obviously you saw in the search engines, and like I said, you can verify it yourself, that there's a whole bunch of, there's hardly anybody competing. It's not it's not the case. It's that the price of pay-per-click advertising, the only form of advertising, has gone insane. Now I want to tell you, I'm an internet consultant. I consult for internet businesses. I have for 16 years. Before that, I was a business consultant, offline, help businesses. And during that time, the cost for advertising, they had what's called the 125% rule. And what the 125% rule meant, and they teach that in Harvard and all, business schools, 125% rule. And what that rule said was, if you spend $125 and you make $100, you're doing good. You haven't spent too much. Now, most people are like, what? How could I possibly stay in business? That's insane. I hear people say to me all the time, I spent $50 on advertising and I only made one sale. You did good. They just don't get this whole idea. And why can you make money if you spend more in advertising than what you made in those sales that you made from that advertising? And the reason is because of repeat business. So you don't make any money off the first sale, but you don't, because customer acquisition is your most expensive expense in business. That's acquiring the customer. Your second biggest expense is customer retention. That's keeping your customers happy and coming back. Those are your two biggest expenses, okay? So the reason that you can make money spending more on your advertising than you make on the sales that it generates is because of repeat business and because of the people that they will refer to you, that your customers will refer to you. It doesn't mean that everyone's going to refer people to you, but enough will, and enough will keep buying your product or buy other products from you that it will be worth more than, and you will get into profit. So that's the rule of marketing and advertising budgets, 125%, before the lunacy of the internet came along and pay-per-click. So let's look at how is it different. See, the really great thing about the internet versus a regular business is it should be a very, very inexpensive thing to do, because you got a website, you could have a really, really fancy you could have the fanciest website there is, and it still wouldn't cost you as much as it costs to rent in a mediocre mall, okay, or business center or whatever, okay. And you don't have to buy insurance, and you have to buy insurance, you don't have to buy furniture, you don't have to pay electricity, you don't have to do all of these things. So internet business should be vastly cheaper. But it's like they said, well, you know, in the real world, you were spending $7,000 a month on your office, and then you had, you know, a $50,000 interior decorator, you had $50,000 in office furniture, and so it's like they're trying to get them to spend the same money but end up with less. But people are, because they're already used to spending that kind of money in the real world, they don't even think about the fact that it isn't logical on the internet, and they spend it. And this is what I'm going to show you here. Okay, so it was 125%, right? So what is it now? Find this one paragraph right here. For instance, you could consider that the average sale you make on your site is $50 with a 2% conversion rate, and that 2% conversion rate is just a total BS lie. It's a total BS lie. It's saying that 2% of the people who click your banners are going to buy something, when no, your banner's so freaking tiny they don't even really know for sure what you have. So that number is going to be much lower than the 1%. But the reason they get away with this, because you can't prove it, because people don't understand the whole getting your site to the top of the search engines. See, pay-per-click advertising will get you to the top of the search engines, because it's a lower bounce rate, and it's traffic to your site, and it doesn't take a lot of traffic to your site, real traffic by real people, to get your site to the first 3 pages of the search engines. As you can see, many of what you'll find in the search engine is all old posts. It'd be easy to get to the we got ours to the first page in the first week of launching. No problem at all. You go to an SEO expert, they're going to tell you, oh, it'll cost you this much money, it'll take 3 to 4 months. Some will tell you it'll take 6 months. Some will tell you it'll take a year, and that's a lot of money. Why? Because they don't understand what it is that I'm teaching you here. Some do, but they don't reveal those secrets. They just charge you to do it for them. So what I'm trying to do here is provide this information to the whole world for free, so that everybody has a fair chance, and it's not just this, you know, the haves get to make all the money while the small and medium businesses fail. Because like Walmart, they can outlast you. They don't need to make a profit, they can outlast you. They can also buy slave labor products when you can't afford to. You might go, that doesn't make any sense, because it costs a lot of money to go through the process of importing from a slave labor company. Once you get set up, you've got all that money you pay for all the inspections and all that other stuff, then you can make a fortune off of them. That's something that the small and medium businesses cannot do. But again, I digressed and went totally off topic here. So here we say, okay, so with a 2% conversion rate, and thus only believe you make a profit on your ad if you keep your pay-per-click below $1. So basically, based on this, what he's saying is you have to keep it at $1 in order to make a profit off of your pay-per-click advertising. Again, assuming that it's 2%. But what does he recommend? But consider that often you would have repeat customers who spend perhaps $2,000 on your products over their lifetime. This does not take into account the potential new referrals and word of mouth. See, that goes back to what I told you about the 125% rule. So again, they're saying you can do this because new referrals and repeat business. If you're making $1, and actually since it's 2%, we're going to say $2 per sale, that means your customer's got to buy from you 1,000 times. And anybody thinks that their customer's going to buy from them 1,000 times is out of their freaking mind. Again, BSing people who have no idea. The internet's so great for that because so many people don't understand anything about the internet. You can pretty much tell them anything and they'll buy it. Oh, you're an expert? Okay, I'll do that. Just like my friend. I couldn't believe it. I was just like, what is wrong with you? Why would you spend that kind of money? Again, I digress. So it says this does not even take into account the potential of new referrals and word of mouth from new customers. Okay, so your customer is going to buy your product 1,000 times in their lifetime, and apparently he's suggesting that you spend all your money right now, because it's lunacy. But anyways, this does not even take into account the potential for new referrals and word of mouth. So we're saying new referrals, like your customer referring other. So you're going to make $2,000 off of the person off that first sale. It's going to be $2. Where you make $2 in profit, you're going to make 1,000 of those. Then on top of that, you're going to get new referrals and word of mouth advertising, which they're saying that like it's separate. It's two things, right? Isn't it the same thing? Where will the new referrals come from? Your word of mouth. But they're spreading it out like this is some kind of tree that's just going to grow and grow and grow. It isn't MLM. People aren't going to share that much because there's no incentive. If it was an MLM, then I could see, okay, yeah, that definitely could happen. But not at a regular business. Not in something like this. So it says with that in mind, you're still profitable even at $40 per click, cost per click. So he's saying if you were to make $1 per click, you should spend $40 per click. Remember I said before, $100 versus 125%, 125. The rule now is 4,000. It's the 4,000% rule. It's not the 125% rule. It's the 4,000% rule. And that's how ludicrous this is. So two things are happening right now. We're headed down a road where this baby is going to blow wide open. Because they're going to run out of people who are going to keep falling for this. People are going to start telling other people, like, look, I did that. I paid for my 3 months. Then I got my expert and I paid for another 3 months. Then I did the next thing. Then I did the next thing. And as people, just like, in the small town, people start telling other people, no, that guy ripped me off. And pretty soon, people who have never bought from him aren't going to buy from him. Well, the same thing happens with anything on the internet. It just takes a longer time. And that's why I say, we're looking at about 3 years and this puppy's going to get blown wide open. And what will come next? My guess is cost per milli. We won't get into that. We'll do that in another video. Okay, so now let's see, what is the average person? So now we're going to find out why it's so easy. When I say easy, meaning no competition, that's a better word. Not easy, not cheap. No competition. Meaning if you wanted to, you wouldn't have a problem. Most people don't try to get to the first page because they think, oh, it's impossible. It's really hard. You got all these people doing SEO and all these people spending all this money on advertising. So yes, with all of the ones that are doing all of that, you're still getting results from years ago. 2014 on the first page, 2012 on the first page, 2015 on the first page, 2013. These should be nothing but 2010. These should be nothing but 2016. But they're not, because people do not, the vast majority of businesses do not have the money to spend $15,000 to $75,000 a year on SEO and then huge insane amounts of advertising. So how much are they spending? How much does a small business spend? The average small business using AdWords, that's Google alone, because people don't just use Google alone. They do Facebook, they do these other things. So the average person using AdWords, and this is just their AdWords budget, is spending between $9,000 and $10,000 per month on their Google page search campaigns. Google paid search campaigns, sorry, that's $100,000 to $120,000 a year. So these people are now spending for websites more than they would spend in the real world to sell their product. So, so this is, I wanted to, and why? How? Why? Because when push goes to shove, and you actually get a winning bid, you actually get your site out there to where it is, advertised, placed in the right places where it can be clicked on, you're paying a pretty penny per click. You ain't paying $1 or $2. You're simply not paying $1 or $2. Go ahead and there's different companies that you can use that will, I'll do another video on that to show you what the actual price is for different keywords. And like I said, it'll blow you away, what people are paying. Why? Because they know being on that front page is, well, not because they know, I don't think they all understand that. Many know that it is about traffic, and it's hard to get real traffic to your site. So is there a solution to this problem? Yes. You don't have to pay this. You can use a program called Just 10 Time that will allow you to do exactly the same thing at a fraction of the cost if you don't want to do anything, meaning you don't want to do any work. The very most you would pay per click is 30%, but the clicks are different. See, I said that there was a bounce rate. With pay-per-click advertising, it's not 100%. Some of those people will click on your ads and some of them won't. You need a lot more of that type of traffic than you do of our traffic. Probably about 30 times as much, maybe more, depending on what your keyword is, depending on what market you're in. The very most you would pay for us if you didn't want to earn the traffic is 30 cents. That's the very most. Using our system, you can earn enough traffic to literally just get a site, start a domain, make a blog about anything literally, and monetize it with advertising like Google AdWords or something like that, which will pay you 70% of those clicks, and put it on the first page of Google, and that's all you have to do. So, but yeah, and why do people do that? Because why do people spend this kind of money? Well, the reality is that they don't understand the truth about the algorithm. For them, they see that for the ones that continue to pay the top money, I mean big money, $100,000 to $120,000 a year for a small business, why do they continue to pay that money? See, most can't afford that, so they'll tell them it's going to cost a lot less, and then it doesn't, and then they quit. But the ones that keep paying, why do they do that? When we know that less than 1% of the people who click on their site are going to buy it, because it puts them on the first page, second page, third page of the search engines where the sales happen. So the sales are actually coming through the search engine. That's why SEO is a $65 billion industry, $1 billion industry, because it's being there. That's the only thing that matters. All the advertising doesn't matter. So what happens is they buy these ads, people click on their ads, they don't know that the ads are not, that it's not the people who are clicking on their ads buying it. They have no way of telling, they have no way of knowing if that person clicked on their ad and that's how they found out about them, the one that bought from them, or if they found it in a search engine. Yeah, sometimes people ask, where'd you find us? I found you in a search engine, or I clicked on an ad. Maybe they remember that a long time ago they clicked on an ad. Oh yeah, where's the first time you? Yeah, I think the first time I saw you was on Facebook. Well, where on Facebook? Well, it was an ad, a banner on Facebook. Whatever. But the reality is that people don't know where they're advertising, where their customers are actually coming from. So they'll continue to pay as long as sales keep coming in, not realizing that they're taking a more expensive route, a much more expensive route. They'd be better off buying a bunch of computers, cheap computers, and having little kids sit there and click on their websites all day. Well, actually that won't work, because they'd still be the same people. But the point is that it would be cheaper to create a firm of people in third world countries that live on less than $2 a day and have millions of them clicking on websites. That would be cheaper than buying pay-per-click advertising, and would be much more effective. But anyways, so What's the solution to doing this? It's certainly not SEO, because I don't know a whole lot of people that are willing to spend $15,000 to $75,000 a year indefinitely, and it's always going to go up. And when they change their algorithms, your site's going to go back down, and you're going to lose all that money from the time that you were down until your SEO expert can figure out the new algorithm and get you back up there. But nothing can affect real traffic. Just in Time delivers real 100% bounce-free traffic to your website. There's nothing else out there that can do it. And I want to caution you and say this one thing. Most of the traffic that's being sold online, people are like, oh, I'll get 10,000 visitors to your site. That's bot traffic, okay? And that will actually do the opposite. The search engines have ways of seeing if the traffic is coming from bots, whether you're using auto search yourself or whether you're buying traffic from them, or you're buying traffic that's coming from someone who's getting it from them. That will drive your site down, can even actually get you blacklisted. If you got I don't know exactly what the fine line between just getting your website shoved down to page 20 or actually getting it completely blacklisted is, but those are the ways that you can do it. So you got two options. We got three options. SEO, but with SEO you still need traffic. So you really can't say I'm just going to use SEO alone. So you got SEO, pay-per-click advertising, and Just in Time. And there's a vast difference in what it will cost you. Nothing works faster. Literally nothing works faster than Just in Time. And nothing is cheaper than Just in Time. Even if you paid the highest rate, it's still vastly cheaper. But as I said, you can use Just in Time for free. If you're a small business owner, if you're a medium-sized business owner, I think that what's going to end up happening is that these medium-sized business owners are going to realize, I can just build a downline in this traffic exchange. I can have my kid or whatever, the neighbor kids do this for me, do this clicking for me, and it will be vastly cheaper than using pay-per-click advertising. And when enough people learn that, the bubble bursts. When enough people learn you've been being scammed, then the bubble bursts and the internet gets a lot more fair. And real legitimate advertising companies surface. So, alright, thanks for listening. Take care. Have a good day. Like and subscribe.